Hello, I'm Janie Goddard, President of the Complementary Medical Association. And this series that we're launching with this first video is the CMA Mental Health Initiative. So we realize that certainly throughout lockdown and beyond, people have really been struggling very badly with mental and emotional health issues and problems that they have been either dealing with themselves or have been seeking help for. But sometimes there are just those niggling things that go on that, you know, sometimes it can just help to watch a quick video with some really decent suggestions that are actually based in research and evidence that can just give you just a few little clues as to, you know, certain strategies that you can employ to actually just make that small amount of difference, that small little tweak that can enable you to just put things back into more of a perspective in a way. And so that's the plan, is that each and every day throughout the week, we will bring you a new video on a new mental health and mental and emotional well-being topic. So without further ado, the first thing that we want to cover today is that we're going to look at low mood and depression as well. So first of all, what is low mood? Well, feeling low is something that happens to all of us at some stage of our lives. Everybody gets upset or disheartened from time to time. And sometimes it can be just one of those things that happens, and obviously, you know, if something sad or distressing has happened to you, a loss or something like that, then the natural response is to feel sad and down and depressed and so on. So that's what we would call exogenous depression or exogenous low mood, meaning that it's something outside ourselves. But sometimes we can experience something quite different called endogenous depression or endogenous low mood, which is something that happens within or comes from within. So this is really very hard to deal with, because when we're dealing with sadness or depression that's outside ourselves, and there's a reason why it's happening, and we can pinpoint that reason, it's almost easier to deal with, because, you know, we know that a natural human response is to feel sad because of the set of circumstances. But I think where things become very, very difficult, and many of my clients tell me that they struggle, is when everything out there just seems to be okay, but yet they still have this low mood. They can't put their finger on why. There seems to be no particular event that catalyzed the problem, but it just seems to be happening for no apparent reason. So what on earth can we do about either exogenous or endogenous sadness, low mood, or depression? Well, first things first, if you suspect that you are actually very seriously depressed, it's imperative that you do get help. Help can be given for these sorts of problems. And I would always advise perhaps speaking to your doctor if you've got a good doctor, or you could speak to a Complementary Medical Association practitioner who will be able to work with you from a lifestyle perspective, offering you treatment and support for mental and emotional health issues. And they may also suggest that you see your doctor as well, because our members within the CMA are absolutely excellent at knowing when, you know, where their expertise lies and the boundaries of that, and also where and when they need to refer to conventional medicine. So there are possibly answers in both fields, but it's really crucial that you work with somebody who has experience in dealing with these sorts of situations and problems. So first of all, what actually is low mood? Well, as I said, everybody feels depressed from time to time, and that really is quite normal, so nothing to worry about. But some of the symptoms, it might be helpful to actually talk about some of the symptoms that you might experience. So you might feel tired, lacking in confidence, frustrated. Some people feel angry, others feel worried, anxious for no apparent reason. A low mood generally, if it's, as what we were saying earlier, the exogenous type of low mood or depression, it's usually self-limiting and disappears after a few days or a few weeks. But if you've got endogenous depression, which is that low feeling that comes for no apparent reason, that's the sort that can actually just go on and on for quite some time. That's where, if it does go on for a long time, you really do need to actually talk to somebody, and there's no shame in doing so. Happily, because so many celebrities have come out to talk about mental and emotional health and well-being, that there used to be a stigma, didn't there? You know, people used to think, oh, I can't talk about this. You know, people will think I'm weak, or people will think that there's something wrong with me. Nothing could be further from the truth. The fact is that, you know, the strong people are able to get help. They're able to talk to a friend and so on. So there's no shame in it at all. And if you don't feel strong, that's even more impetus for you to actually say, I've got to do something about this. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you my 6 top tips. Now, all of these are properly researched and fully grounded in science. So first of all, the first thing I would suggest is increase helpful activity. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, low mood can sometimes stop us from doing enjoyable activities. So have a think about the things that you would normally, under normal circumstances, enjoy doing. So do you like to do crosswords? Do you like to do jigsaw puzzles? Do you like to go for walks? Do you like to work with animals, perhaps volunteer at an animal rescue centre? The sorts of things that really make your heart sing. What is it? Do you like to listen to music? Do you like to write? Anything that you can just pinpoint that could be easy for you to do, because the trick with any kind of low mood or depression or sadness is baby steps. It's all about being kind to ourselves. We're going to come on to that in a moment, but baby steps are the way to go with this. So if you can think, well, you know, I quite like sewing, and I like listening to music, and I like doing cooking. I like cooking and so on, but I just can't get to it at the moment because I feel down. Well, here's your opportunity to just look at what you like to do normally, and then pick the easiest thing first, and just start with that. And what it does is it sort of breaks the state. So it'll give you that small win that you need at this particular point in time. Once you get that small win, we start to sort of get a slew of really helpful messenger hormones traveling through our bodies. And so we have this cognitive win. We know we've done something. But also what happens is that our hormonal system, our molecular messengers, our neurotransmitters such as serotonin and dopamine, actually start to be produced, whereas they may have been somewhat suppressed before. But because you've done something and you've set it out and you've created it, you planned it and you made it happen, that gives you that small win, which will give you that little squirt of dopamine that we need, that enables us to actually step back and think, gosh, I did that. I can maybe do something else now. So my next tip, as I just slightly mentioned it earlier, was talking to somebody. Getting support is absolutely crucial. Have a think about anybody that you trust and that you know will be able to listen to you with a sympathetic ear, but without necessarily giving you loads of solutions that may of course be right for them, but might not necessarily be right for you. Listening is a genuine art. And if you don't know anybody, I really suggest that you either make an appointment with a practitioner who's CMA registered, because you know they're properly trained, and of course also the fact is that they are fully insured and they are really the excellent among the profession. So if you do that, that's a really helpful thing to do. And as I said earlier, if you need to be referred elsewhere, they are capable of doing that, and they will do that if they feel the need. But also, there are other types of counselling that you can get. For example, when I needed support, when my dad was dying, I was really overwhelmed because work was absolutely up to here. My father was obviously very, very unwell, but because he had Asperger's syndrome, what actually happened was that I was having to, if you like, micromanage a lot of his contacts with social services and with hospital appointments and his chemo that he was going through and so on, because his ability to talk to people was very, very compromised, and he would often come out with very inappropriate things. And so for me, that was hugely stressful. He was also ringing me at, 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, demanding to be taken to A&E. Sometimes, genuinely, it was an appropriate A&E visit, and other times it wasn't. But nevertheless, I would still have to get up and take him. And so I was absolutely at the end of my tether, and I needed somebody to speak to. So I managed to find a local volunteer centre where counsellors were actually doing their qualifications, and so you could actually go along and support them by being a case study. But these are senior, not just beginners, they are senior, but it was all done on a voluntary basis, and you could actually pay by donation, which I thought was a lovely thing to do. So they're helping you, but you're giving back as well. So again, you've not just got the benefit of them listening to you and supporting you, but also you're actually paying back something lovely, so they'll then be able to get qualified and go on to help other people. So have a little look at that in your local neighbourhood. Go online and see if you can find any services like that at all as well. I also mentioned a little bit and touched on being kind to yourself. Now, we talk about self-care, don't we? And self-care is an interesting thing, because a lot of people think that self-care means, putting some smelly candles around the bathtub and taking a nice long soak and listening to some nice music. But it's so much more than that, actually. That's self-care light, but real deep, genuine self-care is about learning to set boundaries. It's about breaking big chunks of tasks down into little manageable chunks. Try not to do everything at the same time. Try not to be everything to other people at the same time. Again, that comes back to setting boundaries. Giving yourself credit when you complete a task. It's really important when you complete a task that you thought was overwhelming and you managed to chunk it down, each little chunk, just sit back and think, I did that, I managed that. That's a tremendously helpful thing. So my fourth tip, so those are the first three, my fourth tip is challenging unhelpful thoughts. Now, the way we think genuinely affects the way that we feel. So it's very helpful to be able to reframe your thoughts. And I will be coming on to reframing in a subsequent video, because it's a very, very useful skill. And just to give you some ideas though, for example, if you find yourself spiraling down the kind of, oh, ain't it awful type of thought patterning, whereby, perhaps somebody that you speak to constantly sees the negative in something, what can be really helpful to change mood and change state is to rethink things and actually reframe them. So instead of somebody saying, oh my goodness me, look at the NHS waiting lists are just getting longer and longer because of COVID, a reframe might be, yes, that is true. However, aren't we lucky to have the NHS? I mean, I spent a lot of time in America, and we are blessed in the UK to have the NHS. Quite honestly, I've seen people go bankrupt in America because they've not been able to afford medicine, or they had private insurance and their private insurance company has cancelled their policy because their condition is too expensive to treat. So I've seen people with cancers, really serious, and other really serious diseases actually have their insurance cancelled. And then they've been left with nothing, and they've had to pay out of their own pocket and go bankrupt as a result. So here in the UK, we're so lucky to have the NHS. So that reframe was just saying, gosh, okay, no, yes, we have got a problem with waiting lists, particularly during COVID, but the alternative is so much worse. We might not even have the NHS if we lived in another country, for example. So that's just a small example of how you do a reframe. It's about trying to find the positive in something, or trying to find that silver lining. My fifth tip is really crucial. It's getting better sleep. Now, again, I'm going to make a special video about this because I've got some great strategies for you. But just to give you some thoughts at the moment, low moods can actually really make us feel very tired. Tiredness itself has a really bad impact upon our mood. I've actually got a really fabulous free recording of a yoga nidra, deep sleep, deep restorative sleep meditation for you. That's on my own website. It's called janiegoddard.com. So you can go there and you can actually download that free beautiful meditation. It's only 20 minutes, and Yoga Nidra is a form of Indian meditation that's come out of Vedic science and Ayurveda. And they do say, and I'd actually experience bears this out, and also the feedback I get from my clients and patients is that, well, first thing they say to me is, Janie, we don't even know how it ends, which I think is good, because it means obviously they were listening to it and they went to sleep before it ended. But then the second thing is that they do say that a Yoga Nidra 20-minute session is the equivalent to 2 hours deep restorative sleep. So going back to me when I was looking after my dad and I was literally existing on 2 hours sleep a night, I was doing my Yoga Nidra work and these recordings and listening to them and so on. And that was the thing that enabled me to keep going, as well as obviously getting, talking therapy as well. So do make a point of taking a look at that, because I've had great feedback, not trying to blow my own trumpet at all, but actually, just want to let you know that it does work. So if you're struggling with sleep, please try it. As I say, totally free, no charge, it's there for you, okay? And then finally, tip 6 is healthy living. Now, we know, and all the research bears this out, that when we're feeling low, exercise is one of the most important things that we can do to actually change state and actually lift mood. Exercise creates the production of really helpful hormones and neurotransmitters, such as endorphins, that I know you'll have heard about, the happy hormones, as they're also called. So when if you get a chance, if you can get yourself out, I recommend at least half an hour of walking a day, more if you can do it, day in, day out, 7 days a week. It's absolutely crucial if you can get outside to do this, even though it's really cold here now in the Northern Hemisphere. If you're lucky in the Southern Hemisphere, it's beautiful and you're heading into this, the height of summer. But please try to get out and just get a little bit of daylight. Not so much sunshine, because, being a realist, it's a pretty sunny day today, but, the days are short, aren't they? And your opportunity for getting out and getting sun onto your skin to get your vitamin D levels up is actually obviously tricky, especially if you work indoors and you go to work in the dark and come home in the dark at the moment. I know I do. But if you can just get yourself out, even if it's still dark, that's okay, because you're moving your body. For example, I was out at 5 to 6 this morning and I did an hour's walk, because I'm really experimenting at the moment with some strategies that I can work with groups together, with some of my groups on Facebook, for example, where we're going to set up a challenge. So I'm actually experimenting at the moment to see how realistic it is to actually run a walking challenge for my groups. As you know, I'm a great experimenter. I experiment on myself first, so I would never dream of telling you anything that I hadn't actually tried and found worked myself. The next thing about healthy living is cutting back on alcohol. If you do drink alcohol, first thing is we know it's not good for us. There's no evidence that shows that alcohol is a healthy addition to your diet. Furthermore, alcohol is a depressant. So, if you're struggling with low mood, alcohol's only going to make it worse. Even though we get that temporary lift, the downside, and with every drug, and alcohol is a drug, with every drug there's always a downside, and that is that it will make you feel worse. The other thing also, of course, is that alcohol disturbs sleep. So you really do need to make sure that you are, if you've got low mood, although the impetus can be to actually reach for a glass of wine or whatever your tipple is, try to avoid it if you possibly can, because it will not help at all. Finally, coming on to a healthy, balanced diet. Now, those of you who know me know that I promote a whole food, plant-based diet. I do that for various reasons. We know, the research shows us, that a whole food, plant-based diet is strongly anti-inflammatory, and inflammation is linked to depression. So if you are suffering with low mood, try looking at becoming plant-based and having whole foods. Those are the foods that haven't been tinkered with and messed about with and got additives and this, that, and the other. So fresh, plenty of fresh fruit and veg and nuts and seeds and beans and pulses and so on. All of those give your body the types of phytochemicals, plant chemicals, that have been shown to improve gut flora. And guess what? 90%, 85 to 90%, possibly more, the jury is still slightly out in science, of your serotonin is actually manufactured in your gut. Now, that serotonin is used for a lot of gut functions and other physical functions, but a small amount of that serotonin is used as part of our feel-good chemical array alongside the endorphins and the dopamine and so on. So the point is that if we're feeding ourselves well, it actually has a massive impact on mood and just general sort of psychological and emotional well-being. So I do hope that that's useful for you. We're going to be bringing you videos every single day during the week. But because we're also doing self-care here, we will not be bringing you videos on the weekend because I need a break and my team needs a break as well. So we're really good, generally speaking, really good about taking weekends off. And that would be my last suggestion for you. Really do look at what you can do to set some boundaries and make sure you've got downtime and rest periods where you can essentially do things that make you feel better, things for you. I really hope this has been helpful. Please let me have your comments. As always, comments really help us they guide us to creating more videos that could be useful. Let me know about the sort of topics that you would like me to cover for you, and we will be really glad to answer any questions that you may have. Underneath this video, you'll find links to the Complementary Medical Association, to my website, and also a whole host of other useful links that can help with referrals or finding other helpful, healthy resources. All the best. Bye-bye.